I never thought I'd see the day when someone would just walk into my grandpa's house and claim it as their own. But that's exactly what Karen, our next-door nightmare, did. She wasn't knocking. She wasn't asking. She barged in with the arrogance of someone who thought she had the law wrapped around her finger. "Excuse me," I shouted, hearing the creak of the front door as I came down the hall. My heart pounded like a drumline. There she was, Karen, standing in my grandpa's living room, her hands on her hips like she'd just won a prize. Grandpa, sitting in his old recliner, looked more shocked than angry. His face was pale, his lips trembling. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he demanded, his voice raspy but sharp. Karen smiled. Oh God, that smug smile, and waved a stack of papers in the air. "Actually, this is my house now. I have the deed right here. You and your squatter of a grandfather need to pack up and leave." I blinked. My stomach dropped. Was she insane? Or had she really pulled some kind of scam? The walls felt like they were closing in as I crossed the room. I could hear the faint ticking of the old grandfather clock, and somehow that sound made the moment even more surreal. "Lady, you better step back before I lose it," I warned, my voice shaking. Grandpa slammed his hand down on the armrest. "This house has been in my family for 3 generations. You think you can just stroll in and claim it?" His voice cracked, but his eyes burned with fire. Karen leaned closer, lowering her voice with that condescending tone she always used. "I spoke with the Homeowners Association and the county office. You've been negligent with your property taxes. I filed for a lien transfer. So, technically, this is my home." "What?" I nearly screamed. My head spun. I wanted to grab those papers and tear them apart. My fists clenched so tight I could feel my nails dig into my palms. "You're lying. You're bluffing." But Karen only shrugged. "Believe what you want. I'll give you a week to vacate before I call the sheriff." A week. Vacate. I could feel the heat rising in my chest. Grandpa was shaking his head slowly, as though he'd just been punched. He whispered, "Not again. I won't let them take it again." I froze. Again. What did he mean by that? But there was no time to ask because Karen, bold as ever, actually walked toward the kitchen like she owned the place. That was it. The last straw. I stepped in front of her, blocking her way. "Get up now." She tilted her head, her perfume choking the air between us. "Sweetheart, you'll be the one leaving soon enough." Then she brushed past me, her nails clinking against the wall as she trailed her hand across it, like she was savoring it already. The door slammed behind her and the house was suddenly too quiet. Grandpa exhaled, long and broken, like he'd been holding his breath for years. I dropped onto the couch, my hands covering my face. "Grandpa, what the hell is going on? Can she really do this?" He rubbed his temples, his voice trembling. "Back when your grandma got sick, I fell behind on taxes for a while. The county threatened foreclosure. I scraped everything I had to pay it off. But," he paused, his eyes glistening, "if she somehow got her hands on paperwork, maybe forged it, we could be in trouble." The thought of Karen pulling off some sleazy fraud made my blood boil. "No. No way. I'm not letting her steal our home. Not after everything you built here." That night, couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me think Karen was outside, plotting her next move. My mind ran in circles. How did she get those papers? Did she bribe someone? Forge a signature? Or worse, was someone inside the Homeowners Association helping her? The next morning, things escalated. I found Karen on the porch, sipping coffee from a mug that literally said Queen of Everything. She smirked as I opened the door. "Good morning, trespassers," she chirped. "Did you sleep well in my house?" I nearly lost it right there. "You're insane, Karen." She tapped her phone screen. "Already filed my report with the Homeowners Association. You're on notice. Sheriff will be here soon. Sheriff. I echoed, my voice cracking. Grandpa came up behind me, clutching his cane, his face red with fury. Karen snapped a picture of us on her phone. Click. The sound echoed like a slap. Say cheese. This is Exhibit A for when you refuse to leave peacefully. That's when something shifted in me. Anger turned into resolve. She wanted a war. Fine. She was about to get one. I grabbed my keys and told Grandpa, we're going to the courthouse. Today. The courthouse was a maze of paperwork, lines and impatient clerks. But when we finally got the property deed and tax receipts, my jaw dropped. Everything was up to date. Grandpa had paid every cent. So how did Karen have papers? The clerk frowned. Looks like someone filed a quitclaim deed last week, transferring the property to her name. But it's suspicious. The signature doesn't match. I felt like I'd been punched. A forged deed. She really went that far. When we got home, Karen was on the lawn with a measuring tape, literally planning renovations. She had the audacity to wave at me. Oh hey, just checking where I'll put my garden. You forged a deed, I yelled, shoving the courthouse papers in her face. This is fraud. Karen's smirk twitched for the first time. Careful with your accusations. Defamation is a serious offense. I laughed bitterly. Defamation? You're trespassing in my grandpa's house and you think I'm the criminal. The argument grew louder. Neighbors peeking out from their windows. Whispers buzzing down the street. Karen thrived on the attention. But I could see the cracks forming. She wasn't as confident now. Grandpa finally spoke. His voice low but steady. Karen, you've crossed the line. You'll regret this. The twist came 2 days later when the sheriff actually showed up. My stomach dropped as the squad car rolled up the driveway. Karen strutted outside like she'd summoned them herself. Officers, thank goodness you're here, she cried. These squatters are refusing to leave my property. I shoved the real deed into the deputy's hands. We have proof. She forged documents. Check the signatures. The deputy took one look, compared them, and his expression hardened. He turned slowly toward Karen. Ma'am, these signatures don't match. Where did you get your paperwork? Karen's smile faltered. My lawyer. Name of your lawyer. He pressed. She stammered. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, murmuring, their phones out recording everything. The queen of the homeowners association was suddenly on trial in her own neighborhood. Finally, Karen snapped. This is a mistake. I'll fix it. She tried to snatch the papers back, but the deputy pulled them away. Ma'am, step back. You're under investigation for filing fraudulent documents. The gasp from the crowd was almost cinematic. Karen's face went pale as she realized she was the one about to be dragged out. Not us. Grandpa leaned on his cane, watching silently as the deputy read Karen her rights. For the first time in days, his shoulders relaxed. He whispered to me, your grandma would have loved this. Karen screamed as they put her in the cruiser. This isn't over. You'll pay for this. But her voice cracked, desperation leaking through. The neighbors shook their heads, some even laughing. And just like that, the woman who thought she could steal our home was gone, her empire of lies collapsing in front of everyone. Later that night, as Grandpa and I sat on the porch, he sighed deeply, the kind of sigh that carries decades of weight. I thought I'd lost everything again. He said softly, you didn't, Grandpa. I whispered, not while I'm here. The crickets chirped. The stars came out, and for the first time in days, the house felt safe again. But deep down, I couldn't help but wonder, how many other people had Karen tried this scam on before us? How many got scared and gave in? All I know is, she picked the wrong family this time. And maybe, just maybe, karma finally caught up to her. So what do you think? If someone tried to steal your home, how far would you go to fight back? Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable homeowners association and Karen stories like this one. I wish I were making this up. Karen from the HOA really called the cops on my dad for sitting on his own porch with a radio playing old country music at sunset. And what she didn't know, that same quiet old man she screamed at like a lunatic just so happened to be the sheriff's father. It all started on a Thursday evening, the kind of calm, golden sky evening where the world feels a little less cruel. My dad, a retired Army vet, was doing what he always does, sitting in his rocking chair, boots off, legs crossed, sipping lemonade. His battered radio was playing some Willie Nelson. Nothing loud. Heck, you could barely hear it from the sidewalk. And then came Karen. Her real name's Darlene, but no one calls her that anymore. She's been president of the HOA for 3 years too long, walks around like she's the queen of the suburbs, and has a problem with literally everything. Kids' bikes on the lawn. Citation. Your garden's too wild? Violation. Don't smile at her dog? She'll take it personally. That day, she power-walked right up our driveway with her clipboard like she was about to shut down a mafia ring. "Excuse me," she snapped, lips pursed so tight they almost disappeared. "This is not a concert venue. Turn that racket off or I'm calling the authorities." My dad looked up, slow as ever. He wasn't startled, wasn't angry, just tired. Tired in a way that says, "Lady, I've been shot at for real. I'm not scared of your clipboard. I'm on my porch," he said calmly. "Ain't breaking any laws." That answer? Oh, it lit her up. "Oh, so now you're refusing to comply?" Her voice climbed higher, like a tea kettle boiling over. "This is a peaceful neighborhood, and you're out here disturbing the—" "Karen." I stepped outside. It's 7:15 p.m. The music's barely audible. We've lived here for 12 years. You've never had a problem before. She ignored me. Of course she did. Instead, she whipped out her phone and started dialing. "Fine. If you won't cooperate, maybe the police will have better luck getting you to respect community standards." "Karen, please," I said, my voice rising. "Don't be ridiculous. This is harassment." She turned her back to me and spoke loudly into her phone. "Yes, hello? I'd like to report a disturbance. There's an aggressive man playing loud music and refusing to leave when asked." "What? Refusing to leave? From his own porch?" I swear, I saw my dad's jaw tighten just a bit. That was his only tell. He didn't say a word, just stood up, turned off the radio, and went inside like it wasn't worth the fight. But I could feel it. The shame, the burn, the years of service, reduced to this nonsense. I stood frozen, heart pounding, anger simmering in my chest like a volcano right before eruption. 10 minutes later, the sheriff's car pulled up. Now here's the twist. I already knew who was in that cruiser. Sheriff Martin, local legend. Also, my dad's best friend of 40 years. Served together in the same battalion overseas. Karen, clueless as ever, marched up to the car like she was about to hand out a trophy. "Finally," she said, putting on her best victim face. "You need to remove that man from his property. He was threatening me." The music was blaring. I feared for my safety. The sheriff stepped out slowly. Black boots on asphalt. Tall, broad, calm. He looked over at our house, saw the porch light on, then turned to Karen. "Which man?" he asked, voice low and unreadable. "That one." She pointed toward our house, puffed up like a peacock. "The older one. He got in my face, refused to comply, and made me feel unsafe. This is clearly a violation of noise policy." The sheriff didn't blink. "You're talking about Jack?" he asked. She blinked. "I don't know his name. He's the one with the radio." "Ma'am," the sheriff said, stepping closer. "That man is my father." I swear the oxygen disappeared from the air. Karen's expression, twisted eyes darting, mouth opening and closing like a goldfish out of water. Well, I didn't know that, but it shouldn't matter, right? I'm just enforcing the rules. Noise after 7 is unacceptable. The county ordinance allows non-amplified sound until 10 p.m. Sheriff Martin cut in, voice now sharp. And I know exactly how loud Jack plays his music. I've sat on that porch myself. It's never disturbed anyone but you. Karen stammered. He wash was intimidating. The sheriff narrowed his eyes. Intimidating. How? By rocking in his chair and listening to Willie Nelson. She tried to recover, but her tone had cracked. He had a look in his eye like he might do something. He's an old man with a hip replacement, the sheriff snapped. You came to his property. You yelled. You made a false police report. That is a criminal offense. The silence was brutal. You could hear the sprinkler system kick on 2 lawns over. Karen paled. Now, I could take this further, the sheriff continued. But out of respect for my father and common sense, I'm going to give you a choice. You can walk away now, or you can spend the evening explaining to the deputies why you lied to 911. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. I'll walk away. He nodded. Smart choice. She turned and shuffled off, clipboard held like a broken shield. And just when we thought the drama had ended, another twist came the next morning. My phone buzzed. Neighbor group chat blowing up. Apparently, Karen had gone home and filed a formal complaint with the HOA board claiming my dad assaulted her with verbal threats. But here's the kicker, she didn't know there was a doorbell cam running the whole time. Yup, high-def video and clear audio of everything. Her yelling, her false claims, Sheriff Martin calling her out. All of it. By noon, that video was circulating the block. People were furious. Some had always disliked her. But this was different. This was abuse. Targeting an elderly veteran, lying to the police, and using her HOA status like a weapon? The board had no choice. That same afternoon, they held an emergency meeting. By 5 p.m., I was standing on the porch again, this time with my dad, both of us sipping lemonade. The radio played low, soft twangs of guitar. The air felt lighter. Then a knock came at the door. It was Susan, HOA secretary, face pale, holding a sealed envelope. We voted, she said, voice tight. Karen's been removed as HOA president effective immediately, and we're issuing a public apology to your family. My dad took the envelope, nodded once, and said nothing, but I saw the tiniest smile tug at the edge of his lips. Poetic justice. And Karen? Well, she hasn't been outside much since. I heard she tried to rally a few supporters, but after that video, not a soul stood by her. Even her husband's been unusually quiet. You know what's funny? The next evening, a few of the neighbors came by with chairs and drinks. They sat with my dad, just listened to music, talked about nothing and everything. It wasn't a party, just peace. But I kept thinking, how close we came to a different ending. How easily false power turns to real damage if no one pushes back. Because if Karen had gotten her way, the story might have been about an old man fined, shamed, maybe worse, for daring to enjoy the sunset on his own porch. Instead, she got a taste of the very fear she tried to stir in others. And you better believe it burned. But of course, in a neighborhood like ours, the fallout didn't stop at embarrassment. A few days after Karen was ousted, my dad received a letter. Not a kind one. It was from Karen's attorney, of all people. She was trying to save face, claiming defamation of all things because the doorbell footage had made its rounds. Said it had tarnished her reputation and exposed her to online ridicule. You know what my dad did? He handed the letter to Sheriff Martin, who laughed so hard he nearly choked on his coffee. Then he forwarded it straight to the county legal team. Turns out, filing a false police report is a far more serious offense than looking silly in a video. And while Karen tried to paint herself as a victim again, her own words captured, time-stamped, and public undermined every claim she made. Within a week, Karen wasn't the one threatening lawsuits. She was facing one. The HOA itself voted to file a lawsuit against her for misusing her authority and causing reputational harm to the board. Several neighbors who were previously cited under her bogus rules joined in, with plans to sue for harassment and emotional distress. It was a snowball rolling downhill, and Karen was right in its path. And my dad? He just kept rocking on that porch. Radio humming. Same quiet man. Same gentle smile. But every time someone new walked by, you could see the shift in their eyes. Respect. A little awe. Maybe even guilt that they hadn't spoken up sooner. I learned something watching him through all this. That calm isn't weakness. That standing your ground doesn't always mean yelling back. Sometimes it means letting the truth catch you and watching karma do the rest. Karen once called the sheriff's dad a nuisance. Now she's known across the neighborhood as the woman who got dethroned, exposed, and sued. All because she couldn't handle a little country music on a porch. Some folks never learn. Others, they learn the hard way. Thanks for listening to our story. If you enjoy real-life drama, sharp karma, and HOA madness getting legally shut down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got more wild stories, including how this lawsuit plays out. She slammed her hands on the folding table so hard the mustard bottle flipped, and I swear, for a second, the whole market went silent. "This is discrimination," she shrieked, before launching into a tirade about veteran grifts and free handouts for people who don't deserve them. All because we told her she had to pay $5 for a pulled pork sandwich like everybody else. Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. It was the first sunny Saturday we'd had in weeks. The kind where the sky's so blue it almost hurts your eyes, and the air smells like fresh soil, grilled onions, and sweet tea. I help run the weekly Veterans Farmers Market just outside of town. Local produce, hand-carved goods, and yeah, some damn good food, most of it made by folks who served. It's not just a market, it's a lifeline. For a lot of us, it's how we reconnect, support one another, and keep the civilian world from feeling so alien. So when that woman Karen, of course, strolled in like she owned the place, heels clicking across the gravel, sunglasses the size of saucers, I knew it was going to be one of those days. She made a beeline for the grill station, the one operated by Big Mike, a Marine vet who makes brisket that'll make you question every meal you've ever had. She didn't browse, didn't ask questions, just pointed at a sandwich and said, "I'll take that. Charge it to the HOA. Big Mike blinked. "Ma'am, this isn't affiliated with any HOA. That'll be $5. She let out this sharp little laugh, like we just told her grass was blue. "I said," she repeated louder this time, "put it on the HOA tab. I'm Karen Morris, HOA chair for Brookpine Hills." Now, most folks around here know Brookpine Hills. It's that shiny new development on the hill, big gates, bigger egos. The kind of place where people host board meetings about mailbox paint. And apparently, Karen thought her title gave her the power to commandeer brisket. "Sorry," Mike said, cool as ever, "but that doesn't mean anything here. We're independent, volunteer-run. All proceeds go to the local VA center." That's when her tone changed. Her voice dropped an octave, and she leaned in close, like she was delivering national security secrets. "You know," she hissed, "it's extremely poor optics to deny food to someone representing a homeowners association, especially when you're using public land." I stepped in then. "This is private land, leased by the VFW, and you're welcome to buy anything you'd like with cash or card. But nobody eats for free unless they're registered vets. Ma'am." She looked me up and down, boots, hat, dog tags half visible under my shirt, and I saw it. That flicker of judgment. The same look I used to get at airports when I came home in uniform and people assumed I was some kind of threat instead of someone barely holding it together. Her lips curled into that smirk, you know the one, and she said, "So I guess I'll just take my business elsewhere. Shame. Would have been nice to support the troops." And then bam, both palms on the table, condiments flying, camera phones clicking. "You're all frauds," she shouted, "just grifting off patriotism." Somewhere to my left, a pickle jar tipped and shattered. And just like that, every conversation in the market died. Someone muttered, "Is she serious?" That's when the twist came, and man, it was poetic. From behind the honey stand, out walked Rita, former Air Force medic, current councilwoman, and absolute legend. Her braid was tucked tight, badge clipped to her belt, and her expression? Ice-cold justice. "Karen Morris," Rita said, voice like gravel wrapped in velvet. "You're disrupting a permitted event, attempting to intimidate vendors, and now causing a public disturbance. Karen blinked. Twice. Excuse me? Who even are you? Rita pulled out her phone and tapped once. The person who signed off on this permit. And the one calling the sheriff. Cue panic face.
Jack đã nói.
Karen didn't just freeze, she glitched. Like her whole operating system shut down and tried to reboot mid-smirk. 1 second she was puffing up like a peacock with HOA authority, and the next she was stammering nonsense about being misunderstood and just trying to help regulate food safety. Rita didn't even blink. You flipped a table at a veterans market, she said flatly, like she was noting the weather. You screamed at a Marine, accused disabled vets of fraud, and now you're trying to backpedal? Karen's eyes darted around, looking for allies, but the crowd was already shifting. People were filming. Someone across the lot yelled, "Hey, she just kicked my niece's lemonade stand," which I hadn't even seen, but at this point, wouldn't have surprised me. Karen was unraveling like a cheap sweater in a hurricane. Then came the sirens. You ever see someone's soul leave their body? Because I swear, when that sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing under the big veterans banner, Karen's knees actually buckled. Sheriff Doyle stepped out tall, tan, slow walking like Clint Eastwood in a county-issued vest and surveyed the scene. What's going on here? He asked, voice calm but carrying. Rita handed him her clipboard, flipped to the signed permit. This woman just caused a scene, flipped vendor tables, and is trespassing after being told this is private veteran-leased property. Karen straightened up, tossing her hair like that would reset reality. Sheriff Doyle. Thank God. These people, they're threatening me. They're refusing service. I'm the president of the Brookpine Hills HOA and I demand you shut this thing down. Doyle blinked at her like she'd just announced she was the Queen of Nebraska. You're the HOA president, he repeated slowly. Yes. He scratched his chin. Of a neighborhood 3 miles away. Karen hesitated. Correct. He sighed. Ma'am, you got zero authority here. None. You're on private property under a valid permit, and from what I've just heard, you assaulted vendors and disrupted a permitted event. Karen started to object again, but Doyle raised one hand like Moses parting the Red Sea. Ma'am, don't say another word unless you'd like to say it in a holding cell. I almost clapped. The kicker? While all this was going down, the local Channel 7 news truck had pulled up across the street. Apparently someone, maybe Big Mike, maybe the pie lady, had tipped off the press. And there they were, camera crew hopping out like it was sweeps week. Karen tried to spin it, bless her delusional little heart. She turned toward the camera with a trembling voice and said, I was just trying to ensure safety for the community. I care about our standards. I didn't know this was some kind of veteran-run event. Which was when Rita, bless her petty soul, stepped into frame and said, deadpan. That's literally what the banner says. Veterans Market. In red, white, and blue, about 8 feet long. I nearly choked. Karen was escorted off the property in handcuffs. Not arrested, not yet, but detained for questioning. Which we all knew was code for, this is going to be an official report. And get this, as the deputy walked her past the local news camera, Karen shouted, You haven't heard the last of this. I'll sue everyone here. To which someone in the crowd, maybe Old Man Tate, who's a retired Navy cook with a wicked sense of humor, called out, Make sure you Venmo us the court fees, sweetheart. The whole place erupted. Even the pie lady dropped her rolling pin from laughter. The story went viral by Sunday. Local Facebook groups exploded. Someone made a TikTok edit of her flipping the table set to Battle Hymn of the Republic. By Monday morning, Karen's HOA board had voted to suspend her from public-facing duties. By Tuesday, her name was trending on Reddit under the tag Brisket Karen. But here's the part that stuck with me and maybe why I'm still thinking about it days later. After everything settled, Sheriff Doyle came by the grill stand and nodded at Big Mike. You okay? He asked. Mike shrugged. Takes more than a table tantrum to rattle me. And Doyle said, Good. You all deserve peace. Then he looked at me, Rita, and the rest of the vendors and added, Don't let anyone take this from you. Not people like her. Not ever. And we won't. Because this market isn't just about tomatoes or brisket or homemade jam. It's about dignity. It's about community. And most of all, it's about the right to not be bulldozed by someone in overpriced sunglasses waving fake authority like a sword. So if you're ever at a farmer's market and you see someone pulling a clipboard stunt, don't panic. Just breathe.
Standhalt.
And remember, a little justice always tastes better when it's served with pulled pork. Ever dealt with someone like Karen? Drop your wildest HOA or public tantrum story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real tales of peace, patriotism, and poetic justice. They broke into my backyard. Not to steal, not to trespass for some misguided landscaping dispute, but to sabotage my dialysis machine. These two women, these HOA Karen sisters identical in both their smug attitudes and their ice blonde bobs, nearly killed me because they thought my medical equipment was lowering their property value. Can you believe that? It happened at 3:14 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember the time exactly because that's when the machine alarm went off. The same machine that has kept me alive, day by day, in the quiet corner of my sunroom that opens into the backyard. It's my lifeline, and they knew it. The nerve, the audacity, and worst of all, the calculated malice. I live alone now. I've been managing my stage 4 kidney failure with a home dialysis unit, all cleared by the HOA months ago. Permits, health code compliance, noise levels, I checked everything. Yet from the day I rolled that machine in through my sliding doors, they were watching. Always watching. You know the type. Coordinated tennis skirts, tan lines from patio brunches, fake sympathy faces stretched thin over cruel eyes. Marlene and Denise Foster, the self-appointed face of our HOA board. Or, as they love to whisper, the sisterhood that keeps this place classy. Classy, it started with the subtle stuff. A warning note taped to my garage. Your exterior decor no longer meets community guidelines. My decor? I had a potted fern and a wind chime. Then came the decibel complaints for my dialysis machine. They called it a humming disturbance. I measured it. 38 decibels. That's quieter than a damn refrigerator. Still, I filed the reports. I emailed the HOA with receipts. I tried to take the high road. Lord, I really tried. But things escalated. They began standing outside my window when I was hooked up, just staring, smiling, waving, as if I was a zoo animal on display. I told them to leave. They laughed. We're just making sure you're not flooding the lawn, Marlene said once. We wouldn't want mold in the foundation. I reported that too. The board said, we'll look into it. Spoiler, they didn't. Then last Tuesday it happened. The camera caught everything. My Ring camera. Thank God I'd installed it. At exactly 3:12 p.m., the Foster sisters crept around the back fence with gloves on. Gloves. Denise had a pair of garden shears. Marlene was holding a folded HOA notice in one hand. How poetic. They snuck past my roses, stomped right through my flower beds like they owned the place, and cut the power line to my dialysis unit. Cut the power. I was inside mid-treatment. At first I thought it was a glitch. Then I heard the system beeping, the loud, mechanical beep 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 that means, in short, you might die. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. I scrambled to unplug, pulled out the emergency saline, practically crawling across the floor because my legs had gone weak from the drop in blood pressure. I barely made it to my phone. 911. I think my dialysis machine has been tampered with. I'm dizzy. Please come quick. The operator kept me talking until paramedics arrived. Turns out, my blood pressure had dropped to 76/42. I was minutes away from passing out cold. But here's where the twist hit, and the reason I'm still alive. The paramedics saw the cut line and said, "This looks deliberate." And I said, "Check the camera. I have security footage on the gate." They did. We watched it together on my phone while they stabilized me. You should have seen the paramedic's face. He muttered, "Are they serious?" As the sisters strutted away like they just cleaned up some garbage. One of them, Marlene, actually tossed the severed wire into my compost bin. Like that would cover it up. I sent the footage to the police. They didn't waste time. Within hours, An officer was at my door taking my statement, and another was knocking on the sisters' mini-mansion 3 doors down. And guess what? They tried to gaslight the cops. Oh, we thought it was just a loose cable. We were trying to help. It was unsightly back there. Denise lied with that same glassy fake concerned voice. We didn't even know it was hooked to anything important. You climbed a fence, the officer replied, which we thought was our property line. Marlene snapped. We're just keeping the neighborhood clean. Ma'am, you trespassed, tampered with medical equipment, and cut a power cable while the victim was in treatment. That's felony territory. The Karen facade cracked right there. Screeching, crying, legal threats. We'll sue you for defamation. We're on the HOA board. The officer said, deadpan. Then I guess the board's got some explaining to do. They were arrested on the spot. Now the entire neighborhood's in an uproar. Half are horrified. The other half, secretly thrilled. Turns out I wasn't their only target. These women have been harassing people for years. A veteran couple got fined for flying the wrong size flag. A wheelchair-bound teen was told to hide her ramp because it clashed with the natural elevation design. A single mother got a citation for letting her kid's bike touch the sidewalk. But this time, oh no, this time they went too far. I hired a lawyer pro bono, bless her heart. She used to be a civil rights advocate and nearly slammed her fist on my dining table when she saw the footage. They're going to jail, she said. And we're taking that HOA apart brick by brick. And now? Oh, the headlines are beautiful. Sisters charged in felony medical tampering case claim, aesthetic disruption defense. HOA queens face prison time over dialysis sabotage. Apparently they're both facing felony assault, trespassing, and tampering with life-sustaining medical equipment. And that last one? That's a federal crime. Now, every time I look out into my backyard, the place they trespassed like it was their runway of power, I feel something deeper than relief. I feel vindicated. The court date came faster than anyone expected. The judge wasn't playing games. I sat in the front row with my lawyer, my friend Miguel beside me. He's the veteran who got fined for the flag. Remember? And watched the Karen sisters walk in. Wrists shackled, lips tight. No pearls today. Just orange jumpsuits. Their attorney tried to spin it, claimed they were concerned citizens, said they were merely enforcing HOA standards, and thought the machine posed a safety risk. My lawyer rose with the calm fury of someone who's been fighting for the right side her whole life. Your Honor, this was not a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate, calculated, malicious act. My client could have died. The judge nodded slowly, then turned to the sisters. You're both facing serious time, and I don't want to hear another word about property values in my courtroom when a man's life was on the line. Boom! Their faces collapsed in real time. Tears, of course. Suddenly they were remorseful. Marlene tried to whisper something to the judge. He shut it down fast. In the end, they pled guilty to felony tampering and trespass. Each got 5 years probation, 180 days in county jail, and were ordered to pay $52,000 in damages and emotional distress plus court fees. Oh, and they're permanently banned from serving on any HOA board anywhere in the state. That's not even the best part. The HOA itself? Facing a massive civil lawsuit. Turns out a dozen residents are joining me. We're suing for harassment, civil rights violations, and failure to discipline the sisters despite repeated reports. It's not just a lawsuit, it's a reckoning. The board's already had 3 resignations, and the neighborhood Facebook group is on fire. And me? I'm still here, still alive, still standing by the machine that saved me, protected now by better locks, stronger fences, and the truth. And every time it hums quietly in the background, I smile. Let it hum. It hums louder than any HOA rule. You want more real stories where lawsuits serve justice and Karens finally get what's coming? Hit subscribe and follow the channel. We're just getting started.